the Pacific time. We are going to have the Public Sector Change Practitioners webinar for today, the November 13th. And then the agenda for today is that we're going to share the PSCP board purpose, members, their contact info, and a few announcements. Then we will pass the floor to Andy to talk to us about change management as a trigger for growth, measuring what really matters. Then we will have the Q&A and then the closing section. So welcome everyone. PSCP Board, Public Sector Change Practitioner Board, is committed to first bringing quality and valuable information. This means sharing insight, best practices, and resources that truly make a difference in the area of change management. We want us to connect, exchange ideas, and learn from each other's experiences. And lastly, ensuring that those impacted by change are successful in navigating those change. Our purpose and direction as a community, we are an agnostic group of change management professionals coming together to learn from one another and build knowledge. And our goal is to inspire and lead change and to ensure that everyone impacted by change is set up for success in navigating it. Here are our board members' information, their contact information, their name. In case you would like to get in touch with us, please do so. We promise it will be fun, so just take a leap, send us a message, get in touch. And by attending today's webinar, you're eligible to receive PMI PDU. So we'll provide you with a survey link at the end of the session. Ensure to fill out the survey in order to receive your PDUs. We are also working towards securing a not-for-profit status, which will allow us to expand our impact and better serve our community. If you'd like to support, you can scan the QR code or use the link. I'm just going to put the link in the chat. Yeah, every contribution helps us. So, oh, I closed the chat. I had it open. There we go. That's the link. And yeah, every contribution helps us move closer to making this official. And as for upcoming events, there is a Government Innovation Showcase Colorado that is taking place on November 19th. You can scan the QR code if you're interested in participating, or Google it, it will come up. That's the one that we know. And then just before we dive into today's topic, we'd love to hear from you guys. So one of the we believe most powerful ways we grow as a community is by sharing opportunities to connect. If you know of any upcoming events, conferences, workshops, or gatherings happening in your area, please share them, because as you saw, we are all joining from different places. And if you have the information such as link, time, title, or location, it would make it easier for folks to find it. Feel free to put it in the chat. And yeah, let us connect more and learn more from each other. Now, after all these announcements, I'm thrilled to welcome Andy, who's joining us from Quebec, Canada. Originally from France, Andy brings over 12 years of experience in change management and has led the growth of change management teams in large organizations. Today, Andy will share us his knowledge on change management as a trigger for growth, measuring what really matters. Andy, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and at any point you're ready, please feel free to start sharing your screen, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, and I will start by sharing my screen. Hope everyone can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Fantastic. Let me share my screen. And I will just need a confirmation on your side that you can see my screen, actually. All good? Yes, I can see the thumbs ups. Fantastic. I like that. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm really happy to be here with the PSCP community to talk about something that sits at the heart of every transformation: how we measure success in change. And as you already know, my name is Andy Loret, and for the past 13 years, I've been helping organizations in different industries to navigate complex transformations, cultural transformation, digital, organizational. Today's session is called Change Management as a Trigger for Growth, Measuring What Really Matters. We will explore together how to move from tracking actions to proving outcomes, and how measurement can become a real growth lever, not just a reporting exercise. And I will just take this opportunity because I'm lacking energy and battery. So let me just load this. Sorry, everyone. Completely forgot to connect it. All right, I should be okay now. All right, sounds good. All right, let's move on. Here is what we will cover today. Why we need to rethink how we measure change. What really matters in measuring change, the change balance scorecard. So this is a framework that I have adapted to the purpose of measuring change effectively. Examples in action. So I will share to you some examples, and finally, a few key takeaways, and sometimes for you and for your questions. Of course, it will be interactive. We will use a tool that calls Mentimentor today also that will make this session interactive. So you will have the opportunity to share your thoughts live and also your question, of course. Okay. Let's move on. So as mentioned, let's make this session interactive, right? So Massa has shared a link in the chat. So you can click on the chat, or if you prefer using your cell phone, please, you have the flash code on the screen. You just have to flash code the flash code on the screen, and you will access the activity. Okay. I will just give you 10-15 seconds, and we will all along the session have few short questions that will pop up. And it will be anonymous, of course, and it will help us see how this topic shows up in your organization. Okay. All right. I can see people are connecting. That's a good thing. And actually, the first question that pop up on your screen, so you should have a white screen with a field to answer this question. In one word, how does your organization measure success in change? And when you will answer the question, we will have the words appearing in a cloud directly. So what I can see is adoption, of course. I'm seeing a lot of engagement as well, live. As many people are putting the same word, the word is getting bigger. So I can see we have 3 keywords related to adoption. So this is how you measure change in your organization. Okay, so we have like 4 keywords that appears. And that's very telling, actually. It's what we often measure because it's visible. But what's visible isn't always what's valuable, right? So thank you so much for participating in this first question and activity. Why traditional metrics fall short? If you look at most change reports, they're full of activities, number of emails sent, number of people trained, number of workshops delivered. But here's the real challenge. Very few of these metrics tell us whether anything actually changed. We end up with dashboard that looks impressive on the paper, but don't really reflect any real organizational benefit, right? And this is why we need to shift our conversation as change practitioners from proving that we did something to proving that what we did made a difference. One reason we struggle, and this is my own conviction, okay, we struggle to measure change is that we mixed up sometimes metrics, KPIs, OKR, okay? A metric is what tracks activity, like the number of workshops held, for example. A KPI measures performance. For instance, delivering 120 workshops this year, okay? OKR, what is an OKR? OKR tells a story of change connected to business value. For example, if we have as an objective, managers lead through coaching, not control. And the key result attached, tied to the objective, is with coaching training by Q3. Okay. So those are the differences. And as we recap, metrics show what happened, KPIs show if it worked, OKRs show why it matters. Okay. So for the next slide, we will test this. Okay. What type of measurement do you use most often when reporting change progress? So I will launch the next activity, and you will see on your screen. I'll tell you, these are our main success metrics. Instance training completed, attendance rates. What's missing? What is missing? What's the piece that numbers don't tell us? What is missing if, oh, and I'm starting the Menti as well. There you go. And you should have access to the activity right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. And apparently,
yes, we do have access.
Tracy saying that I sounds breaking up a bit.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. You're breaking up, so we can't really hear you properly. I don't know, maybe if turning off your video would help, just with the bandwidth. Maybe try that and see if that works. I thought it's only me. I think everyone thought that, you know how we are like, it's only me. But yeah.
So maybe I would cut my camera to make sure to optimize the bandwidth. So
this is better.
This is better. Fantastic. So I launched the activity. So what I can see on the screen is, yes, we miss outcomes, feedback mechanisms for sure. What were compared to goal exactly, satisfaction. Actually, what we have on the top of the screen, email sent, training completed, attendance rate, these are activity metrics, right? They show effort, not impact. They don't tell us whether anyone changed a behavior, whether people feel capable, or whether the organization saw any benefits. This is the gap we need to close, right? And it's exactly the balance. That's exactly what's the balance scorecard that I will show you after help us to address. So yes, you got it right. So thank you so much for your response here. Let's move forward. From adoption to value. For years, change team have relied heavily on adoption metrics, right? Attendance, training completion, participation rates, as we said, but these metrics tell us something, but they only tell us that people show up, right? They showed up during those change management activity. Not whether they understood, not whether they can perform, and certainly not whether the organization got any value out of it. What really matters is what comes after the adoption, right? Are people gaining capability? Are they changing behavior? Are those new behavior creating better results? This is what executive and employees now expect. Employees or citizens, because we are here with public sector experts. They expect proof of value, not proof of effort. So this is something that needs to change. Change succeeds not when everyone completes training, but when people's behavior actually drives outcomes. Faster service delivery, for example, cost reduction. What other example I have? Better collaboration, improve user citizen experience. And this is exactly the shift we are making today from tracking activity to proving outcome and value. I'm just going to stop here potentially to see if we have question in the chat. Masa?
We don't have any question in the chat. Not now. Okay. Thank you.
Is the sound better right now?
Yes, definitely. At least for me.
I hope this is the same for everyone from
I do see thumbs up.
From South Africa to other countries and places in the world. All right, and I can see the thumbs ups. Fantastic. Let's move on. The change balance scorecard. So before getting into it, the original balance scorecard was created by Kaplan and Norton. One is was a professor at Harvard Business School, and Norton was a change and business consulting expert. Sorry. And they have created the balance scorecard as a way to measure organizational performance beyond financial indicators, okay? What I did is an adaptation that logic change management to help us measure not just what we do, but how people change and how that creates value. So this is the change balance scorecard. So the frameworks contains different quadrants. The quadrant 1 is engagement and adoption. And here, this quadrant tells us who's on board. Are people involved and adopt the change? So we're going to have here different metrics behind it related to engagement and adoption. The second quadrant is clarity and capability. This one tells us if people are ready, if people are aware, if people are equipped to embrace the change. Of course, it includes some key notion of the what's in it for me. So it's really important. So this is where you have the clarity and capability. This is where you have everything related to the readiness of people to the change. The number 3 is behavior, resistance, and sustainability. So here you're gonna have different metrics related to if the change, the behaviors are sticking, okay? Are they sticking on the long terms? Are new habits and ways of working taking root? So this is where you will measure it. And finally, we have organizational impact. Is the change improving outcomes or values? So here you will define specific metrics related to the organization benefits, okay? In a recap, what we do with this change balance scorecard, together we move from people metrics to performance metrics to value and benefits metrics throughout those 4 quadrants, okay? Is there any questions, comment on that before we move to practical examples and a mini business case?
There's no question, but there is another comment indicating exactly your point about adoption from Tracy. With the lack of maturity, the companies think that once the project is live, then as a change manager, I've been told that my tenure is over, and I tell them it's only begun now. We track adoption. So yeah, thank you, Tracy.
I love this comment because yes, unfortunately, we reduce change management as a project, right? And change management starts at the go live. Exactly. That's a great comment. Thank you, Tracy, for that. Is there any other comments or potential question, Nasa, before we move forward?
Well, I see Patricia raised her hand. Patricia, go ahead.
Hi,
Yeah,
Patricia.
I just have a comment, just because we're in the government sector, that number 4, a lot of times we're not improving outcomes. We're just changing from one system to the other and hoping we don't lose outcomes. We don't lose our processes when we're going through a change. So just wanted to make that comment. Sometimes it's not improving. It's just we don't want to regress from what we had with the previous version of the technology that we're changing to, or whatever the change may be.
Of course, there is, and thank you so much, Patricia, for this comment and the context about public sector. Of course, it depends on the context, definitely. But what I want to share today, the key message is, let's move from just proving that we do change management, but let's prove also that we provide value and benefits to it, to a whole organization, depending on the industry and sector, of course. Okay? But thank you so much for that. Let's move forward if we do not have any other comments or questions. Applying the change balance scorecard. Let's make it real. Imagine a public agency implementing SAP Concur. So for those who are not aware of it, it is a system to manage travel requests, okay? So a modernization project aimed at making the process simpler, let's say faster and more transparent, while encouraging employees to book in advance to reduce costs during fiscal restraints. And I can imagine that some of you around the table are really familiar with this context, right? And the project encouraged earlier booking in order to reduce costs during fiscal restraint. Before the change, you can imagine that we have some manual forms, manual process, long approval chains. The visibility is not at the top in terms of expenses. Employees are frustrated because their requests are not validated on time. They are losing money. Managers drawing into paperwork. We all have been, in that kind of situation, and we are all managing that kind of situation. Let's apply the change balance scorecard to this mini case. So here is how the change balance scorecard helps us track what truly matters in that context. You remember, for engagement and adoption, our people are actually using the new system. First, I would suggest that we look at if the employees submit their travel request through SAP Concur, the new system, instead of emailing PDF. That could be, first metric that we can monitor here. Our manager approving online. So early usage is really important, but it doesn't tell us if the change is successful, right? It just tells us, okay, people have entered the new process. That's it, okay? Clarity and capability. So here, if you remember, we want to know if people feel ready and equipped for the change, right? So we check the clarity and the capability. And what I would suggest here, do employees know how to use SAP Concur confidently? So train competency towards the new system. Are travel coordinator able to resolve issues without support tickets, right? The efficiency in terms of usage is also important here to track. Capabilities where adoption becomes real performance, right? Without it, the system becomes, let's say, a burden, not an improvement, right? For the third one, behavior, sustainability, resistance. For the reminder, we measure here our new habits forming, especially early booking. So here I would suggest metrics around our employees submitting travel requests well in advance, as recommended in terms of change of behavior. Are we seeing fewer last-minute bookings? This is also something that you can track. Are people following new policy consistently? Because I believe, and this is my conviction, when behaviors shift, the system isn't just used, right? It's used properly in a way that supports organizational goals. And speaking of that, for the organizational impact quadrant, are we seeing measurable savings and efficiency? So finally, for this quadrant, the part leadership cares about, right? This quadrant. So are we seeing reduced travel costs because employees book earlier? This is definitely something that we need to track here. Is processing time down by 10%, 20%, 30%? This is also something that you can track, right? Do audits show fewer errors? Is budget variance improving? You remember we want to change the behavior. So do we have a benefit on that for the organization? This is what allows you to say this modernization didn't just digitize a process, it created measurable value, right? Because you go from people performance to value to benefits, okay? Is there any questions, comments related to the application of the model?
No question in the chat, but folks, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, or even if you cannot find the raise hand function, just shout out what your thoughts are.
All right.
Perfect.
Let's move on. And let's engage again. You should see on your screen right now for the Mentimeter activity, another question, which is which area of the balance scorecard do you find the hardest to measure in your organization? I would love to get your perspective on that, right? So I will launch the activity and we will see live what quadrant is the hardest to measure in your organization. So I would be curious to see that. Behavior sustainability, we have a leader so far. So behavior are the leader for the moment. Yes, obviously this is always the most difficult one to follow, to track, to see if there is a real change into it. The Menti link, Lizzie, is in the chat, so don't hesitate to come back on the chat. Maybe Masa, if we can share the link again in the chat. Oh, thank you so much, Twivi. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, but thank you so much. And thank you, Masa. I can see popping up all the messages, so thank you so much. And yes, obviously the behavior sustainability is one of the most difficult ones to measure. Organizational impact as well. How does the change really impact the organization as a whole? What benefits, what value we can get from it? Sometimes we, and I'm saying sometimes, but most of the time, we tend to forget that change has a purpose, right? And this is where you justify, you prove that purpose. Do we have any comment, questions in the chat?
We have a few comments. Measurements usually happen after the project goes live. What part of the balance scorecard is used to address change after go live? Sorry, that was a question. I thought it's a comment. I'm going to repeat that again. So measurement usually happen after the project goes live. What part of the balance scorecard is used to address change after go live?
Mm-hmm. Here you have the behavior and sustainability. Of course, this is something that you want to track after go live. Have we sustain, anchor the right behavior after going live? Okay. Organizational impact, obviously. Have we brought what we want to reach out with this project, the benefits of the project in terms of production improvement, cost reduction, employees, citizen satisfaction. This is something that we can track on the long term after go live. Hope it answers to your questions. And don't worry, I will share with you a bunch of metrics that you can, a dozen of metrics that you can use for your own project. It's Christmas time before Christmas. It's in the slides, and we will share the slides with you, of course. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Lubna, in response to Mike's comment about the question, said, I think this question is dependent on the context of the change project. And then more comment about, I really like this from Amber. I love the framework capability from Lucia to capture training evaluation results regarding behavior change. So yeah, lots of folks liking and valuing the framework. And then there was that question that you answered. So thank you. I don't see anything else. Please, if there is any question, just I've tried to get the companies to verbalize what they can track as change behavior. It is crazy how they haven't thought this through. They don't get that this should be done upfront. So that's another
right.
comment from Tracy. Yeah.
That's so right. We are all confronted to that situation of, this difficulty of verbally, showing the results as well. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Tracy. Let's move on. The change balance scorecard, as I said, I will share with you a bunch of metrics. I'm not going to go through every of it. This is the ones that I like to use for my own project transformation or organizational change, okay? Applying the scorecard, okay? Use the scorecard inside to, as we said, identify where change is telling. Is really important. As we said, we have the readiness period, okay, but after going live, where do we have blockers? Where can we improve? Where can we reinforce also? So it helps us adjusting, improving, make sure that we are going in the right direction, right? So clear return on investment to leadership. Obviously, I think I said it all along. It's really important to apply the scorecard to show the value, the benefits it brings with the change. Demonstrate value creation. I talked about it. So applying the scorecard allows you to demonstrate value creation. And also something that it's really crucial to me. Let's reposition change management as a strategic discipline. Change management is not just a part of the project. It can be an organizational and a discipline for organizational growth. Yes, it depends on the context. Yes, it depends on the organization. But what I want to share with you, the key message here that I want to share with you is change management can be and is a strategic discipline if we position it as a strategic discipline. Okay? Some key takeaways before I leave the conclusion to Masa for this session. So first, track value, not just activity. And I think we were agreed around the table when we had the Mentimeter activity that adoption metrics are useful, but they're only the starting point. What matters is how change improves capability, behavior, and outcomes. And I'm glad we had this activity together because we were able to see your comments. How do you see change? What's missing? What are the best and not so best practices that you are realizing in your situation? Use balance metric, not a single lens. So engagement, clarity, behavior, impact, each tell part of the story. When you combine them, you get a complete and credible picture of the change. So this is what I believe. Okay. Third, translate change data into value. As we said, leaders, employees, citizens. Again, I want to keep them in the conversation because we are on the public sector webinar. So let's talk about citizens as well. They all want evidence that change is improving service, efficiency, collaboration. What can I say more? Transparency, right? So let's make sure that the change data brings value. And finally, shift the role of change management. We talked about it on the previous slide. From a reporting function to a strategic driver, driver for growth, driver for performance. I think this is when we measure what truly matters. We elevate our influence and the value of the change itself, right? So this is my key takeaways for us today. To conclude, we don't need more dashboard. We need better stories, okay? Backed by meaningful data. This is really my conclusion to tell you, okay, let's move from a project perspective of change management to a real lever for all the organization. Thank you so much. This is it for me today. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Send me emails if you have more questions. I'll be glad to be connected to all of you. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to the Public Sector Board. Thank you, Massa, for having me today. Is there any other questions, comment before I leave the session?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining us. I'm sure we all got so many takeaways from this session, and I saw so many emojis. So let's give our presenters another big round of virtual applause. I'm going to clap here, but yeah, another virtual applause. Thank you again for sharing your time and expertise with us. If anyone has any question, please feel free to unmute yourself. Oh, I can see, Nasser, you do have your hand raised, so I'm just going to pass it on to you.
Thank you, Massa. And thank you, Andy, for your presentation. I liked your model. If you want to draw inspiration from the balance scorecard, the original framework, the sequence of layers or elements is also important. And as we start in change management with the individual layer, that we want to increase awareness among individuals, and then collecting the individual awareness, make a change in the organizational level. It's just, I have a suggestion maybe. It might be better to consider capability as the layer one, maybe. You consider the engagement and adoption for the element one and the capability as the element two. But inspiring from the BSc, if you think that the growth and learning is the base for balances required and the capability is adjusted layer for that one, if we consider the engagement and adoption, the adjustment one for the process layer, and if we consider the adoption from impacted groups as the layer 3 and the outcome, organizational outcome, as the top layer, as the financial layer in BSc, but from the perspective of change management as the outcome, just inspiring from the original framework, just is a suggestion. Maybe the capability, it can be the layer 1 as the basis, individual awareness, and the capability of individuals can be counted as the basis for the change. It's just a suggestion.
I love this comment, because with this model, what we can do is potentially to change it, to adjust it, to make it your own, right? So yes, Nasser, be my guest, change it, adjust it, add another quadrant. At the end of the day, let's prove value. Let's prove the benefit of change, right? This is a framework. There is so many framework on the market, but the key message is really, let's move from just justify that we do and move from we perform, we create value and benefit for the organization. Any other questions, comments?
I just had one comment. I thought it was it's really nice to have this categorical view, and it gives you some direction because a lot of change management has to do with having actual conversations with people. So it's nice to have some metrics that you can tie that conversation to in order to evaluate and see, you know, maybe the problem could be the metric itself, like maybe we're measuring the wrong thing, but we'll only find that out if we're actually talking to the end users and then determining, you know, how do they stack up against what we're trying to measure. And then also being willing to adjust. So I like having multiple options because each project might also be different for what you want to track. So I thought those are some really good examples.
And thank you so much for your comment. Yes, the power, I would say, of this model is the different layer. We talked about it with Nasser before. And yes, you can adapt it to your needs, to your expectation, to your population expectation as well, because sometimes some leaders are really triggered about, hey, I need to follow this. Can you integrate it in your metric? Yes, of course. Let's put it into, you know, the scorecard, but you have your other metric that is really important for you as well to monitor engagement, adoption, capability, etc., etc. Any other questions, comments? And I love your question. Thank you. So I want to stay here. I will come back, you know, for all the sessions.
We would love to have you for more sessions. I don't see any more question in the chat. There are a few comments about I like the scorecard because you can have your activities flagged against each of the quadrants. So to your point, that was from Tiffany. Thank you. And Carl thanking for a very good presentation. Tracy is following you on LinkedIn, and not just one framework. So tired of AdCard, ProSci, and there is such richness that can be offered, but it seems like conveyor belt ProSci seems to be the magic one. Thank you, Andy. It was a great session, very insightful. So yeah, a lot of thank you from everyone. Merci beaucoup.
Yes, we have some French speaking people in the chat. I love that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being virtual. You can just join from everywhere. I love that. If there is any more question or comments for Andy, please feel free to type it or raise your hand. We would love to have your questions. If not, I'm going to go through a few notes before we let you all go about the rest of your day. So again, thank you, Andy. And with that saying, we would like to gather inputs to share, to shape our upcoming presentations. So we encourage everyone to participate. I did put a link in the chat. So if you guys could fill the survey, let us know what topics you want to know more about. If you want to present or be in touch, please feel free to fill that. It would help us shape the future presentations. And before you go, we promised that you're going to get the PDUs for the PMI. So feel free to also fill the form, the Google form, to get to receive your PDUs. And stay in touch. We are on through the PSCP website, Blue Sky social media, PSCP LinkedIn group, and the presentation and also the recording of today's webinar will be posted on our website, the PSCP website, and also it will be available on YouTube as well. So just put the links here in case you guys want to follow us there. We would love to be in touch. And until next time, which will be our final webinar of the year. So in December, we'll see you with Ramya Kumar. She will be joining us to talk about a human-centered approach to technology AI-driven change insight from a mixed methods study. I absolutely recommend and encourage you all to attend that one. Share it with your other friends. It's a free webinar. We are all coming together, sharing our knowledge, learning from each other, and that would be a very nice way to end your year. I promise it would be as valuable as this session that Andy had. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourself. And thank you for participating, everyone. Make sure to stay in touch. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Andy.